Hey everyone, something huge is happening in global trade right now. A massive shift, really. And it's being driven by a pretty unexpected force. It's like a whole new economic architecture is being built from the ground up. And today, we're going to take a look at the blueprint. And no, that is not an exaggeration. Something happened recently, a truly seismic event that has just completely upended decades of how trade works. It's created this huge power vacuum, and what's fascinating is seeing how that vacuum is being filled. It's happening in a really smart, really strategic way. Okay, so first things first. Let's dig into where all this instability is coming from. I mean, what actually happened to suddenly redraw the entire map like this? All right, so the trigger, it was this major Supreme Court ruling in the US. Basically, it stripped the president of the power to set tariffs all by himself. And you got to understand, for decades, that power was a huge lever in global trade. And now, poof, it's gone. Instead, you've got this really complex, really slow process involving Congress. And the immediate fallout from that decision, it is just staggering. We are talking about over $200 billion that's now tangled up in lawsuits and disputes over refunds. So this isn't just some small policy tweak. No way. This is a massive economic disruption, and it's created years, literally years, of unpredictability for Western markets.
So what you're seeing here are two completely different paths opening up. On one hand, you have the West facing this new vacuum, right? Total unpredictability. But on the other hand, Africa sees a green light. It's a huge opportunity to pivot away from all that chaos and move towards something they're calling hyper-harmonization. Think of it as this strategy of really deep continent-wide economic teamwork. And you have to get this. This is not just a passive reaction to what's happening elsewhere. It's a really proactive strategic move. It's a great realignment. Africa is shifting away from the old model of just, digging up resources to a much, much more powerful idea called value sovereignty. So what on earth is value sovereignty? Well, it's a total game changer. It means a country doesn't just, say, dig gold out of the ground and sell it for a low price. No, it means they control the whole value chain, the processing, the pricing, the shipping, everything. It's about owning the entire journey, from raw material to finished product. You own the value because you created it. And this right here really shows you the core difference. The old way, well, it made African nations dependent. They were just players in a game designed by someone else. But this new model, it transforms them into the architects of trade. They're the ones designing their own systems and their own secure supply chains. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory, something written on a whiteboard somewhere. This shift is already happening right now. So let's take a look at the pioneers, the first movers who are already making value sovereignty a reality. Okay, take Ghana, for example. They've pretty much stopped exporting raw gold. Instead, they're now refining a full metric ton every single week right there in the country. Then you have Burkina Faso, which is taking bigger ownership stakes in its own mines. Or look at Namibia. They've got these huge new energy discoveries, and they're using them as an anchor for trade in the whole region. And Botswana? They're doubling down on a strategy they've had for a while, processing their own diamonds. These aren't just ideas. They are concrete, sovereign moves. Now, these individual actions are powerful on their own, for sure. But what's really important is that they're all being connected by a much, much bigger vision. This entire strategy is being built out across the continent, supported by brand new physical and digital infrastructure. We're seeing these massive projects come to life. You've got things like the Libido Corridor, which is huge for minerals, and the Abidjan-Lagos Corridor, a powerhouse for trade. But you have to think of these routes as more than just roads and railways. They're like the arteries of a brand new, totally integrated African market. And that's the crucial point right there. These aren't just infrastructure projects. They are sovereignty infrastructure. Every new corridor that gets built reduces dependence on outside routes and strengthens trade within Africa. It's all about making the continent more resilient and more self-sufficient. But of course, a shift this big, it's not going to be easy. There are definitely challenges, and we need to be really clear-eyed about the work that still has to be done. So, what's the critical gap? What's the missing piece of the puzzle here? Well, there are a few big ones. First, they need a single, unified digital system to verify where products actually come from. That's essential. Then, they have to fully roll out a pan-African payment system to make trading across borders totally seamless.
And maybe the biggest hurdles of all, creating coordinated platforms to actually set their own commodity prices and, crucially, finding African capital to fund all these huge projects. But here's the thing, these challenges actually create a pretty clear roadmap for what needs to happen next. The big goals for the next few years are 1. Lock in those mandates for processing goods locally. 2. Finance these big corridors from within the continent. 3. Get all that digital trade plumbing in place. And 4. Make that fundamental shift from being price takers to price makers, moving from just being sellers to being the governors of their own resources. And all of that brings us right back to where we started. All of these different pieces, the chaos in the West, Africa's strategic pivot, the new infrastructure, even the challenges that lie ahead, they're all part of this one incredible story, the Great Realignment. There's this quote from an analyst, Mumo, that just perfectly sums up what's at stake here. The choice is simple. Either remain a raw exporter or become a structured value architect. And the countries that manage to do that, well, they won't just be improving their own economies. They'll be defining Africa's economic standing for the entire next generation. And I really want to leave you with this final thought, because it's a powerful one. For decades, the question has always been, how does Africa fit into the global system that already exists? But the Great Realignment completely flips that question on its head. The new question, the one that matters now, is how does global trade interface with a unified, sovereign, and value-driven African system? And folks, that is the question that is going to shape the future for all of us.